Why egoic death is essential for uncovering truth. Hi, I'm Anne Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. Thanks for joining me. So, this week's Sacred Sunday explores the egoic death and rebirth, not killing the ego, but the egoic death and rebirth that happens throughout our lives. How to liberate ourselves from the trap of warring with one another and why that has to do with egoic death, and also uncover effective ways of making our difference in the face of all this polarity and not get sucked into the negativity. So let's get started. Okay. So the purpose of these Sacred Sunday messages, I want to make something clear, is not to tell you what to think or how to vote or what to believe, but instead to liberate you from your unconscious traps. We all have them as human beings. So you can stand for peace, love, justice, empowerment with the beautiful country that we live in America. You can stand for your freedoms, your political parties, your religion, fight for righteousness, your philosophy. But you can do all of this without ever holding hate or the desire to destroy what is different from you in your heart. So when we talk today about the ego, we talked last week and the week before that the ego relies in the third chakra, Manipura, develops like in junior high school around those times, 8 to 12 years old. We're also going to talk about where we find our truth, where our truth chakra, or that truth energy point is kept, which is in our fifth chakra. And how does this power center of ego in this human plane get to the fifth chakra? It gets through the heart center. So let's talk about egoic death to start. Egoic death is very different from killing the ego. Killing the ego is saying that there's something wrong with your being human. Egoic death instead allows the dissolution of identifying more so with labels or our tribe. Remembering when we are over-identifying, that keeps us blind to what is our real truth, rather than just saying, oh, I'm this label, I'm that, I'm a teacher, a mother, a daughter, a wife, I have this job and I have this income and I live in this neighborhood. That's the trappings of the ego. Who are you really? So how do we identify? We identify with how we're seen, with how we look. Are we looking good? Are we belonging in a certain way? Are we holding the same opinions or belief system as those in our tribe? And the more that we believe that others are wrong for thinking differently than we are, or behaving differently, or voting differently, or researching differently, we are in the trap of the limited ego. So let's personalize this. So in childhood, we all have beliefs that are taught to us where we think that things are a certain way. And then through our experience and through maybe tapping and growing a little older, this chakra develops between 15 and 21. And during that age range, y'all, we go through leaving our childhood home, typically around that time, and exploring a world that is completely different than the one in where we were raised. So the phrase blow to the ego, it challenges our way of thinking, our truth, what we thought was our solid belief system. It disrupts that absolute certainty of a specific belief that we are holding. And when this happens to us, we can respond in one of two ways. And I know I wrote this in the description. I'll get there in a moment. But we either operate out of defending the ego or rising through the heart to find a deeper sense of truth. And the first ends up in really struggling and divisiveness between you, your family, you, your friends, you and your community. And then the latter really results in you opening up more so to your authentic purpose, your authentic voice. Okay, so how do we know which one we're doing? So if we look at what the goal is, are we attempting to destroy what is different? silence what is different, kill what is different. We know when we're at war as a country, we can also be at war in our own hearts and our families and our minds. War brings devastation. War brings devastation. It is that let's kill the other, let's dominate the other. It leads to devastation, persecution, not only with those who are engaged in that act of combat, but also the ripple effect into their lives, on their loved ones, on their family members. And the devastating impact of war is immeasurable. And if we haven't learned that by now, I don't know if we're ever going to learn that. So if we look at what is the goal? Is the goal to destroy what is different? Then we're going to be in that warlike environment, that polarity of opposites, of bouncing back and forth opinions. And we're never going to get anywhere, y'all. We're never going to get anywhere. If your true desire in your heart is to make a difference and to bring more light and love and acceptance and justice to the world, that is not going to be gained by fighting in this polarity and this polarizing atmosphere. So how do we do things differently? Okay. So ego is the master if we're wanting to destroy. So if you're wondering, am I coming from love or am I coming from my ego? Is the master my soul or is the master my ego? If you're trying to eliminate something, be it the president, be it an opposing party, be it somebody who thinks differently from you, be it anything, no matter how justified or righteous the cause, you're in the ego, and there is a better way of doing things. There's a more empowering way of doing things. So and also just for self-preservation, when we realize the most devastating impact when we operate from ego, of trying to kill something, destroy something, dominate something, eradicate, when we realize that the most devastating impact is on us, we'll see that it's not on the president, it's not on the political party, it's not on the people wearing masks or not wearing masks, not the rioters, not the people listening to that news channel or that news channel. The most devastating impact is on us. When we realize that, we'll begin to recognize that when our energy is low and when we're bubbling over with that angst or that anxiety or that rage, the most devastating impact is on us. We're in the duality, we're in the war, we're in that polarity. So if we can step back and check ourselves, right? Are we in a negative mindset of delusional superiority? Are we thinking that we are better than someone else rather than seeking to understand why this person is positioning themselves in this way? Then we're not going to see how to bridge the gap between us and them, whether it be in our families or whether it be in this country. It's going to push us further away from the truth of what really needs to happen, and it's going to push us way of true security and progress. So the resolution is not possible. It's just an ego trip of dominance that we are trapped in. So our truth will not go away I think that this is a fallacy that we live in. We think that our truth or that our efforts are going to just disappear if we drop resistance. This is not true. We do not need to fight something in order to choose where we stand. This is immensely powerful. Immensely powerful. If you are focusing on killing something, making something wrong, embarrassing, exposing how horrible something is, you are pulling yourself out of your true power, your purity of voice to speak the truth and have it be seen. And this takes immense courage. It takes immense courage, and it really uncovers a deep sense of a liberation that we so desire. So I want to bring up this card, the Destroyer. It's the archetype of the Destroyer. It's what so many are in. So many good people's morals and visions for righteousness are being exploited right now into taking a side. This goodness in your heart might be being exploited and hijacked in order to force you to take a side. So the Destroyer archetype, the light attribute, makes us aware of when we're trapped in this ego, okay? And it allows us to release what is potentially destructive, and prepare for new life. If we can drop this energy of finger pointing, of viciousness, it's them, they need to be this way, or God, no, Biden is wrong, no, Trump must be taken from office. We are in the negative shadow aspect of the destroyer, and this is keeping us from being effective in bringing more light into this world. So the light attribute helps us to recognize that and to dissolve that toxicity within our hearts and minds so that we stop fighting each other. Because guys, there's a war going on. If you're not seeing that, if you're not feeling the anxiety and the toxicity of what's going on, check your pulse. The shadow attribute of this destroyer is intoxication with destructive power. Done. Intoxication. We get an ego trip when we post something that embarrasses one side of the political spectrum or the other. We get this intoxicating release of chemicals in our brains that makes us think that we are being powerful in this world. That is not true power. That is not true power. It is destructive. So how can we be constructive? We must recognize ego, not kill it, but recognize when we are being enslaved by it, when we are trying to prove that we are right and someone is wrong. When we are trying to say, look at my side, we are in the right, look at how your side is in the wrong, we're in ego. Instead, the ego can dissolve, have a death, but in order to find the truth, we must be willing to be wrong about how we see things. If we are attached and gripping onto dear life with the way that we are seeing things, we will never find the truth. Never. We will never graduate from the third chakra into the heart and then be able to find our true, authentic voice. Not the one that we have been told to just parrot, to silence others, to condemn others, to forward one thing or another. But the true ego rises, ascends into the heart, and is wrapped with compassion, with empathy, with love. What we're doing on social media is not loving. That needs to be called out by ourselves, what we're doing. Not pointing the finger of somebody else, but be the change you wish to see in the world, as Gandhi so brilliantly channeled that wisdom. Check yourself, and that will make ripples into this world of love, healing, and light that may just forward what your vision is for this world, way beyond trying to shame, expose, or make wrong people who are different than you are. This needs to be a war in our hearts and our minds, where we ascend the ego through the heart into the power of choice. You do not need to stand for something and be against something else. Mother Teresa couldn't have put it better when she said, I'll never attend an anti-war rally, but if you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there. What do you stand for? Can we start allowing our voices to ring through the social media platforms with love, with light, with vision, with wisdom of what we stand for, and celebrate what each of us is standing for, because we're pointing the finger saying, you're for this, you should be for this. You're for that, you should be for that. We are all doing the best we can and standing up in the best way we can. And we're going to further this conversation. I know it's a big one. We're going to further this conversation on Wednesday with Anthony also joining me for the Wake Up Wednesday. We wake in this higher frequency in ourselves. So that takes place at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Join us live on Facebook and Instagram, and bring your questions, bring your awareness, bring your wisdom, okay, to those conversations. We'll see you then. Please feel free to share. Tonight's the Women's Circle. And until next time, keep raising the vibration within you. Spread it around, guys. I love you.